And today we're going to be talking about Bhakti Yoga. And I wanted to just, continue on with the subject matter of our black men and how they feel about the black women being God. I really want to talk about that. It's really important that I do, and basically help those who want to revere the black woman and those who want to be in a matriarchal relationship, help you guys see how there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and letting understanding that the black woman is God doesn't do anything to your manhood. Okay. Okay, like I have to really talk about that. Like it seems pretty like self-explanatory, but I feel as though some people just need to understand. And what we're going to do today, we're going to go over what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Bhagavad Gita. So this is what we're going to be reading today. Oh, before I do this, make sure you have your notebooks. Hopefully everyone has their notebooks and their pens today, because we're going to be doing a lot. We're going to be taking a lot of notes. So again, this is the notion that we're actually continuing. I'm not sure if you guys actually got a chance to look at my YouTube video where I showed how some teachers or some people, basically Nature Boy and Young Pharaoh, they went from teaching the black woman is God to completely denouncing that and going about their lives in a whole nother way. And basically, they also said that it goes to women's heads. And I had to sit there and truly analyze where that feeling came from and how could you possibly feel that, and I had to use them as examples because, again, those are people whose lives are publicized. So we're able to take a look into their lives. We see who they date. We see how their relationships are going. We can see if the women that they are uplifting is disrespecting them, demeaning them, belittling them. We can see these types of things because they publicize everything. So because we're able to see those things, we're able to look into their lives, we're able to sit there and critically analyze whether what they're feeling is the absolute truth, from outside looking in. You know what I'm saying? Because again, someone can feel disrespected. That doesn't mean that they were actually disrespected. You know what I'm saying? There's a such thing called triggers, and triggers are something that has to do with internal trauma that may not be healed. So when someone says something, they may not have had any malice or a gesture or whatever that could have been neutral. It could not have been to the detriment of you, but you could have taken it offensively based on your inner traumas. So that's what a trigger is. A trigger is something outside people have no clue what you could possibly be dealing with, and then they never know if they're offending you or not. You know what I'm saying? So it's very, very possible for one to become offended or feel disrespected by someone without their knowledge. So now we have to analyze whether this is going to someone's head or you thinking it's going to someone's head. You know what I'm saying? Because of, whatever internalized trauma that's unhealed. You know what I'm saying? So we have to sit there and really analyze these types of things. Talk about which element of self-mastery we're dealing with today. So the element of self-mastery that we're dealing with today, remember to head your papers, put the date on there, the subject of today's class. So today we're going to be dealing with so exegetical theology and gynolatry. So these are the things that we're dealing with today. And today I want to begin this class with a chant, or teaching you the chant. So okay, so this is today's chant, okay? And I'm gonna break it down for you so we can kind of understand what this is. So Om, you have heard already, I know you have. This is the creative sound of the universe, okay? This is a seed mantra. And then we have Kring. So Kring, sometimes it can look like, Krim, okay? Krim or Krim. Basically, when it's spelled like this, it's to basically remind you of how the I is sounded in Sanskrit. So this is in Sanskrit, and what this is this right here is the seed mantra for the mother. So this is her original sound, okay? So Krim is her original sound, and if you want to know what this is, this actually, whatchamacallit, this, I don't want to erase it right away, okay? K-R-I-M. Okay, so the K represents knowledge, okay? Okay, the R represents auspicious, which is basically favorable or most likely to be successful. I represents the granting of boons or blessings. Boons is basically another word for wishes. So if you are asking for blessings, this is basically what this comes in. And M is for the freedom that you get from the Divine Mother, okay? So there's so much that this can mean. And of course, now we're moving on to Kali. So everyone knows Kali is the black goddess. So her name derives from the root word Kal. Kal means time, right? So she's also known as the devourer of time, okay? But Kala literally means black, okay? So that's why they call her the black goddess. And she's always depicted as black, or in newer imagery, she's depicted as dark blue. But in one of my previous classes, you know that even when they say dark blue, they mean black, okay? They're talking about the blackness of the deep depths of the sea, okay? So Kali Kaye is the name of the black goddess. And what I'm going to do is, okay, and also Namo and Nama, these are the same word, okay? So Namo means salutations. Okay, a lot of times what they do is they will take the word and add the particular symbols that's needed to help with the flow of the chant. Okay, so that's pretty much what they'll do. So go ahead and write that down before I erase it, because I'm going to end up writing some more stuff here. But I want to make sure that we can actually practice chanting this. And what I'll do is inside our group chat, I'll actually send the YouTube video where you can practice chanting this when we're not in class, okay? So who wants to come up and practice chanting this with me? You do not have to cam up if you don't want to. You can, cam down. But I just want to be able to hear if we are pronouncing these things correctly and we're getting it together. So who wants to come up? You can go ahead and request to come into the live. Okay, ready? Om Krim Kali Kaye Namo Namaha.
Om Krim Kali Kaye Namo Namaha.
Om Krim Kali Kaye Namo Namaha. Om Krim Kali Kaye Namo Namaha. Om
Krim Kali Kaye Namo Namaha. Om Krim Kali Kaye Namo Namaha. Om Krim Kali Kaye Namo Namaha. Om Krim Kali Kaye Namo Namaha. Om Krim Kali Kaye Namo Namaha. Om Krim Kali Kaye Namo Namaha.
Beautiful, beautiful. You did a beautiful job. See? It's not that hard.
Thank you. It sounds beautiful.
Yes, that's beautiful. So, just to, so at this point, you can go ahead and cam down if you like. It's all good. Thank you so much for coming up and participating. Thank you so much. You did a beautiful job. And now what we're going to do is, I want you guys to I'm sorry, y'all. If I look hot, it's because I had to close the window because of the sound. It's just too loud. I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. Okay? So if you want to write this down, you can also say it in English. But of course, I want to make sure that we are utilizing an ancient language to help activate the different vibrations using our vocal cords to help with our inner healing. Okay, so again, sound vibration is healing to the body. So that's why we're making sure that we're practicing different different languages, because again, English is dumbed down. So this is something that we know. So this is the actual meaning, but just looking at it, you can kind of tell what it's saying. So salutations to the Black goddess some other guys things and give us some knowledge and enlightenment. That's pretty much what it says. But I'll give you the actual translation here. Okay, so this is where we're at. Ooh, I'm hot. Ooh. So yeah, you can write these down, guys. You write these things down. Another thing that I like to say as well is I meditate upon the divine presence of the Great Mother, the source of all primal energy, to bestow upon me peace and liberation. Ashe. So I'm going to actually write that down for you as well, so you can have this in your notes. Okay, so go ahead and write this down. This is something that if you are still struggling with this one, you can go ahead and speak this. This is something that's more easily, you can easily remember and be able to start your day with this every day. Okay, so I meditate upon the divine presence of the Great Mother, the source of all primal energy, to bestow upon me peace and liberation. Ashe. Okay, so that's something we can definitely start our day with. Please write that down. It's very important. Section of our class, we are going to be going into the worship section. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about Bhakti Yoga, and you know that from my last video when I talked about the acts of Giannis, I spoke about getting to source or becoming closer to the divine through devotion and love. And this is the emotional path of how to get to enlightenment. Okay, so this is what we're talking about today. We're talking about devotion. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into our book. So I have two books here. Well, one book. For right now, we're going to be dealing with the our sacred text for today is not the Bible. is the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so the Bhagavad Gita is a sacred text. This is what you would call their biblical stories. Okay, only they don't have a Bible, they have Vedas. So after their Veda texts, they have Upanishads, Puranas, things like that, and Bhagavad Gita is a part of their sacred text. So this is where we have Krishna speaking with his disciple Arjuna. Okay, Arjuna is a prince. If you've ever watched Arjun, watch Arjun. Arjun should be on Netflix, so you can get a little bit of an idea of what this story is. So Arjun is an animated cartoon. It's a movie. It's on Netflix, and it shows a little bit into the story. Okay, so the Bhagavad Gita is his Christ speaking to him, and he's basically having conversation. He's asking him questions. Okay, and he's receiving knowledge directly from Krishna. And Krishna, just for your understanding, Krishna is a lot like Jesus Christ. Okay, Jesus Christ, he is what we would call the supreme Godhead of the Hindu religion. Okay, well, they have different sects, but Krishna is one of them. Okay, so whenever I say Krishna, it's synonymous with me saying Christ. So Krishna is the Christ conscious. Okay? So that's just pretty much how we're going to understand it. And this is I have two versions. Okay? So if you want to buy this book is about $35 or $37 on Amazon. This is a hardcover. I have a link for this. But if you want to save money, you can also get this version. Okay, so this version is a softcover, it's small. The reason why this book is huge and it looks different, even though it's the same book, it's different translations, of course, but this book is basically just the Bhagavad Gita. That's it. It's nothing else. This has the Sanskrit translations, English transliterations, breakdowns. It also has commentary as well. So if you were to think of it like, think of this as the Bible, and this is the Bible plus the Strong's Concordance with it. So think about it like that. Like it comes with all types of commentary, linguistic breakdowns and things like that. So you can have, this is more of a study book. Okay, but if you want to, you can get this one, and this one is $7 something on Amazon, $7 and change. So this is cheaper, something you can get. And I actually like this translation as far as I find it easier to understand. Like if you're just reading it without any commentary, this I feel is easier to understand. So I'm going to be actually reading both today because I like reading this one, and then what I'll come in here is I'll give extra commentary from this book. Okay, so if you had no knowledge of these characters, what they're about, you have no idea about the Hindu religion, then you would need the commentary because you don't know what they're talking about. But I like this translation, so I'll be reading from here. And I'll be reading from here. So it doesn't really matter which book that you get if you choose to do so. Okay, so it begins, the whole teaching, it begins with Arjuna asking Lord Krishna a question, okay? He says, who best knows discipline? Men who worship you with devotion, ever disciplined, or men who worship the imperishable unmanifest? Okay, so basically he's asking. It's so funny because my cat is looking at the live. It's so funny. So he's asking Krishna, is it better to worship you in your manifested form, or is it better to worship the abstract version of you, meaning the pure consciousness which doesn't have any attributes? It doesn't look like anything. It doesn't have, a gender and a face or anything like that. So that's basically what he's asking, which is better, okay? And Lord Krishna responds, I deem most disciplined men of enduring discipline, who worship me with true faith, entrusting their minds to me. Men reach me too, who worship what is imperishable, ineffable, unmanifest, omnipresent, inconceivable, immutable, at the summit of existence. So, again, this is what I'm reading is what they call slokas. So if you see, it's written and formatted like a poem. So these would be what we call stanzas, what they call slokas, okay? So sloka is numbered on the side here, and it's written like a poem, okay? So again, their sacred text is more like hymns rather than just words, just storytelling words or narration. And I just read two verses just now, okay? So the first verse, Lord Krishna says, I deem most disciplined men of enduring discipline who worship me with true faith, entrusting their minds to me. So he's saying who he deems the most disciplined are those who entrust their minds to me. So the ones who worship me, meaning his manifested form. The next verse, he says, men reach me too, who worship what is imperishable, ineffable, unmanifest, omnipresent, inconceivable, immutable, at the summit of existence. So he's also saying that those who worship the abstract version of me also reach enlightenment as well. So you can get to me both ways, is what he's saying. Okay? Mastering their senses with equanimity toward everything, they reach me, rejoicing in the welfare of all creatures. So mastering their senses, when he's talking about those who worship the unmanifested form. You have to master your senses. And what he means by mastering your senses is you are detached from this 3D world existence. So you do not, you are not fazed. You don't do revenge. You're not fazed about anything that happens in this realm, because your entire goal is to reunite with the Almighty consciousness. So that's all you're ever thinking about. So you're not really thinking about this world at this particular time. Okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in here and also see what they're talking about. Okay, so it says, we find in this chapter that the different processes for realization of the absolute truth, Bhakti Yoga, devotional service, is the highest. If one at all desires to have the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he must take to devotional service. Okay? Those who worship the Supreme Lord directly by devotional service are called personalists. So personalists meaning those who I said focus on the divine image of God in the manifested form, okay? In the manifested form. We spoke about this, and I described the manifested form in one of my previous classes, if you can remember, okay? Those who engage themselves in meditation on the impersonal form are called impersonalists. So again, if you are focusing on the abstract version of the goddess, just the void, the blackness, the womb, the yoni verse, if that's what you're focusing on, then you're impersonalist. That's what they call it, okay? Arjuna is here questioning which position is better. There are different ways to realize the absolute truth. But Krishna indicates in this chapter that Bhakti Yoga, or devotional service to him, is the highest of all. It is the most direct and it is the easiest means for association with the God. Okay, so this is basically telling you that if you had to choose a way in which to reach complete enlightenment or realize the absolute truth, the best way is through devotional service to the manifested form of the goddess. Okay? And again, when I say Krishna, what you gonna call it? Replace the word Krishna with Christ. I might just do it for you. But yeah, with Christ as far as the Christ conscious, not Jesus Christ. Okay? Get me? Okay. Let's see. Again, it says, Krishna clearly says that he who concentrates upon his personal form and worships him, I'm going to fix this, right? He who concentrates upon her personal form, who worships her with faith and devotion, is to be considered most perfect in his path to union with her. Okay? For one, in such Christ consciousness, there are no material activities because everything is done for Christ. A pure devotee is constantly engaged. Sometimes he chants, sometimes he hears or reads books about the divine, or sometimes he cooks prasadam. Okay? Prasadam is basically food for the Divine Mother. So you would basically make food for her and offer food to God first, and then you would eat the remnants of her mercy and what she gives back to you. So you would offer your food to God, and then you would eat the remnants of what God gives you back. Okay? Sometimes he cooks prasadam or goes to the marketplace to purchase something for the goddess. Or sometimes he washes the temple or the dishes. Whatever he does not let a single moment pass without devoting his activities to the goddess. Such action is in full samadhi. Samadhi means meditation. Okay, so that means that everything that you do, you will be meditating on the goddess. Whether you're washing dishes, cooking, cleaning, going to the store, whatever you're doing, it would be for the goddess, okay? And your goal of meditating upon her while you do everything is to ensure that you reach pure enlightenment, okay? That's pretty much the goal, and that's what they're saying here, okay? So it says, so that's how you reach enlightenment, through worship. Through worship of her actual form, her manifested form, okay? So it says, in order to perceive the super soul within the individual soul, one has to cease the sensual activities of seeing, hearing, tasting, working, etc. Then one comes to understand that the Supreme Soul is present everywhere. The Almighty Consciousness is everywhere, energy is everywhere, right? Realizing this, one envies no living entity, so you get rid of envy. So it's telling you how to be enlightened. It's telling you how to get rid of a lot of the things that we suffer from, okay? He sees no difference between man and animal because he sees soul only, not the outer covering. But for the common man, this method of impersonal realization is very difficult, okay? So what they're talking about, those who focus on the abstract version of the source of all things, like when you focus on source in its abstract form, that's what you would call people who've reached their zenith level. So this is what we're talking about here. So in this chapter, if you don't notice already, we're talking about Bhakti yoga, devotional service, and things like that. But we're also going to go into, which you'll see, we're also going to go into the different levels of commitment. So the 3 levels of commitment that I spoke about before. So the 3 levels of commitment that I spoke about before is so these are the 3 levels, okay? And you'll see as we read what Krishna is telling Arjuna what to do, okay? So here he's saying that if you focus on the abstract form, the unmanifested form of the Almighty, of the Goddess, it's going to be very hard for you. And only a few people can reach that, okay? So as far as, that's what you would call I'm not going to put them, I think I'll put them in the category of zenith because they're doing something that most people just aren't able to do. Like most people are not able to move into the Himalayan mountains and chant and focus on, obedience and service 24 hours a day. They cannot do that. That's really hard. A lot of people, they are attached to their bodies. A lot of times we're attached to our bodies and our mind cannot conceive anything outside of that. You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah. So that's the next thing. Now, we're going to move on. Okay? So again, I'm coming back to this version of the book. Okay? So now we're reading verse 5. It is more arduous when their reason clings to my unmanifest nature. For men constrained by bodies, the unmanifest way is hard to attain. Okay, so he's telling you which path is the best path, which path is the most successful for you. Okay, so it is more arduous, meaning it takes more effort, it's more strenuous, like it's really difficult. That's what he's saying. It's more strenuous to focus on the unmanifested form and think you're going to reach enlightenment that way. Okay, because you need to be able to conceive. You have to utilize the brain that we have, and our brain does not elevate to the point of godhood because we are only pieces. You know what I'm saying? So we wouldn't be able to understand. We can't possibly understand because our nature doesn't allow us to, right? Okay, so then it says, but men intent on me renounce all actions to me and worship me, meditating with singular discipline. Men intent on me renounce all actions to me and worship me, meditating with singular discipline. Remember that. Okay, so that is verse 6. Okay, when they entrust reason to me, Arjuna, I soon arise to rescue them from the ocean of death and rebirth. Okay, so he's basically telling you, when they entrust reason to me, reason meaning the mind, when you put your mind on the manifested form of Goddess, basically what's gonna happen is I soon arise to rescue them from the ocean of death and rebirth. So basically, you are not going to be stuck in the you're not going to be stuck in your karmic cycle anymore. So that's how you get out of your karmic cycle. You go straight to union with the source of all once you place your mind on the Goddess, the manifested form of Goddess, okay? So it says, focus your mind on me. Let your understanding enter me. Then you will dwell in me without a doubt, okay? So it's basically telling you, it's being very clear. Okay, so I want to read the commentary of this, okay? So it says, in this book, it is explicitly stated here that the devotees are very fortunate to be delivered very soon from material existence by the Lord. In pure devotional service, one comes to the realization that God is great and that the individual soul is subordinate to her. His duty is to render service to the Lord, and if he does not, then he will render service to Maya. Okay? So basically what that means is Maya, just so we understand, I'm going to just put it here. Maya equals Maya means illusion, okay? So the reason why I'm writing these things down is because I want to make sure that these things, you remember certain words, okay? Because certain words, there's no English translation for certain words because this language is too old and English is too new. And it just doesn't have enough words for certain things. So, again, he says that his duty is to render service to the Lord, and if he does not, then he will render service to Maya. So what that means is, if you do not focus and render service to God, right? If your focus is not on God, then you will, your focus will be on the illusion, the matrix. Okay? So you know how in the Bible it says one cannot serve two masters, you either love one or hate the other. Hopefully we will remember that. That's basically the same thing. So it's either your life direction is on truth or your life direction is on illusion. So which one you're going to go for? Are you going to go for following the absolute truth or obtaining absolute truth of all reality, or you're going to go with the illusory form of reality because you like that one? Which one? That's pretty much what we're talking about here. So you cannot be awakened and still be asleep. So it's either you sleeping or you awake. Which one is it? You know what I'm saying? It's like, because once you wake up, you cannot forget anything that you've seen, heard, or learned, because you have now elevated to a certain level of consciousness. You know what I'm saying? So when you elevate to a certain level of consciousness, then that's just it. That's it. You're already awoken. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much what they're talking about. So as stated before, the Supreme Lord can be appreciated only by devotional service. Therefore, one should be fully devoted. One should fix his mind fully on the goddess in order to achieve her, which is the goddess being enlightenment. Okay? One should work only for the goddess. It does not matter in what kind of work one engages, but that work should be done only for the goddess. That is the standard of devotional service. The devotee. So as stated before, the Supreme Lord can be appreciated only by devotional service. Therefore, one should be fully devoted. One should fix his mind fully on the goddess in order to achieve her, which is the goddess being enlightenment. Okay? One should work only for the goddess. It does not matter in what kind of work one engages, but that work should be done only for the goddess. That is the standard of devotional service. The devotee does not desire any achievement other than pleasing the Supreme Personality of God. Okay? I'm going to read that one again, just so we can hear it clearly. I hope y'all taking this down, okay? The devotee does not desire any achievement other than pleasing the Supreme Personality of God, okay? His life's mission is to please her, and he can sacrifice everything for her satisfaction, just as Arjuna did in the battle of Kurukshetra. Okay? So you sacrifice everything for her satisfaction. I'm reading this. This is in their biblical text, okay, guys? This is telling you how to be how to devote yourself to the Supreme Personality of God, to the manifested form of God. That's what it's telling you, okay? In case you didn't know. Okay, so it says here, if you cannot concentrate your thought firmly on me, then seek to reach me, Arjuna, by discipline and practice. So now we're going into, if you cannot have your mind on God all day. Like, say it's hard for you. You cannot keep your mind focused on God all day, right? In everything that you do, you cannot meditate on the source, on the Universe. You cannot do that. So it says here, if you cannot concentrate your thought firmly on me, then seek to reach me, Arjuna, by discipline and practice. So now, even if you fail in practice, dedicate yourself to action, performing actions for my sake, you will achieve success. If you are powerless to do even this, rely on my discipline, be self-controlled, and reject all fruit of action. Okay, so here it says, I'm going to go back up to verse 9. If you cannot concentrate your thought firmly on me, then seek to reach me, Arjuna, by discipline and practice. So now it's talking about your actions. So we went from the mind, right? We went from the mind, and now we're going into what you do with your day. Okay, so now here it says, Bhakti Yoga is the purification of the senses. At the present moment in material existence, the senses are always impure, being engaged in sense gratification. But by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, these senses can be purified, okay? And in the purified state, they come directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. In this material existence, I may be engaged in some service to some master, right? But I don't really lovingly serve my master. I simply serve to get some money. Okay? And the master also is not in love. He takes service from me and pays me. Okay? So they're talking about working, right? Working. We go to work for money. Do we do our jobs because we love it? Do we serve other people, our bosses, because that would be our master at the time? Do we serve our bosses because we want to, we just want to help? No, that's what volunteering is. But if you go to a job and you're doing something for money, most times people are driven by money. We know this. Everyone is driven by chasing the bag. They chase the bag. They don't care. So they'll do any job as long as it pays them as much as they are looking to be paid. So when you do this, when you are focused on money, you're not focused on the action or how it benefits the people, the community, you know what I'm saying? So you don't care about that. So again, it's all about self. You're working for self initially. So when you're working for self and gratifying yourself, there's no higher purpose to what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much what they're talking about here. Okay, so it says, the love of God is now in a dormant state in everyone's heart. Okay, so when we talk about love, we're talking about the frequency of love. We're not talking about the emotion, okay? We're not talking about the emotion, people. So when we talk about love, I want y'all to... What is love? I'm glad this came up. Okay, so we're talking about the spiritual aspect of love, because honestly, if we go on Google, it's going to talk about your emotional attachments, and that's not what love is. And that's why a lot of times love is conditional, and that's why a lot of times we end up hurting each other in our relationships. So when it comes to relationships, right, we want to make sure that we are transcending the normal conventions of love, or what people think love is, which is emotional attachment. We want to transcend emotional attachment and be able to love someone on a higher level, which is unconditionally. People talk about unconditional love, but they don't really know what it is. But unconditional love is a state of being from your heart space. So it's residing in your heart chakra. That's what love is, okay? That's what love is. So love is a frequency. Love is healing, right? Love is a okay? Love is healing. That's the best way to remember what love is, because if you're in a relationship with someone and you're not sure if you are just attached to them or you are truly loving them with the highest state of your being, if you're unsure, you need to basically take a step back and critically analyze if the relationship is healthy, if it's healing for both of you, if their presence in your life is healing for you, if you're elevating in consciousness, if they're elevating in consciousness because you're there, if you guys are stagnant, or if you're falling, if it's toxic, if it's a lot of pain, if there's no mental clarity, then that's not love what you guys have. You know what I'm saying? So this is where we talk about love. Right now, this is the path to enlightenment is through love. Why? Because God is love, right? God expresses love. Love is the energy of everything that we're feeling, okay? So you gotta understand what love is in the spiritual sense, not in, oh, you make me feel good right now. You know? So, again, it says, this love of God is now in a dormant state in everyone's heart. So we all have the ability to do so, and we all desire it, but we have no idea how to awaken this, right? And this is what we're learning today. We're learning how to awaken God's love, okay, for ourselves, for others, for our families, right? Okay? So, again, it says, and their love of God is manifested in different ways, but it is contaminated by material association. So it's telling you it's contaminated by material association. So even if we love, the action that we do at our jobs, we're still doing it for money, but we still wouldn't do it for free. Now, would we? No, we wouldn't, because we don't have pure love. We don't got that. Okay, so again, it says, now the heart has to be purified of the material association, and that dormant natural love for Christ has to be revived. That is the whole process, okay? To practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, one should, under the guidance of an expert spiritual master, follow certain principles. One should rise early in the morning, take a bath, enter the temple and offer prayers and chant. Then collect flowers, okay, to offer to the deity, cook foods to offer to the deity, take prasadam, eat, and so on. There are various rules and regulations which one should follow, and one should constantly hear the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam. And those are two sacred texts of the Hindu pantheon, the Hindu religion. But basically what it's saying, one should constantly hear the word of God, okay, to make it simple and plain. This practice can help anyone rise to the level of love of God, and then he is sure of his progress into the spiritual kingdom of God. This practice of Bhakti Yoga under the rules and regulations with the direction of a spiritual master will surely bring one to the stage of love of God, okay? So it's telling you through your practice, through your daily practice of prayers and chants in the morning, rising early, washing, making sure you are offering your meal to God before you eat, and always listening and hearing the sacred knowledge is how you can, learn to purify your thoughts and purify your emotional attachment to these particular material possessions, okay? And that's just the beginning of devotional service. That's minimal, okay? So it says here, one who is not able even to practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga under the guidance of a spiritual master can still be drawn to his perfectional stage by working for the Supreme Lord. Okay, so now we're talking about the different levels, right? Remember in my previous video, I talked about the different levels of commitment, and I gave you the examples of Christians, Hebrew Israelites as intermediate, and the Buddhist monks as the zenith. Okay, so when we're thinking about certain things, they're basically saying that full devotional service under a spiritual master, a guide, or a guru is the zenith. That's the height of how you're going to understand and learn pure love. Okay, and then after that, then we're talking about works. If you cannot do the regulative principles, which is the things that we just talked about today, if you cannot devote yourself completely to being under the guidance of a spiritual teacher, I mean like 24/7, your whole life, your whole day from waking to sleeping, every moment of your day is devoted to your spiritual teacher. Okay? And if you cannot do that, they're saying this is the next step that you can do if you can't do that. Okay? So, one who is not able to even practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga under the guidance of a spiritual master can still be drawn to his perfectional state by working for the Supreme Lord. So now this is through your work. So now through the work, this is where I see Hebrew Israelites. This is the intermediate level now. We're talking about what you do. Okay? So it says, so even if one cannot directly practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, he can try to help such work. Every endeavor requires land, capital, organization, and labor. Just as in business, one requires a place to stay, some capital to use, some labor, and some organization to expand. So the same is required in the service of the Christ. Okay, so the only difference is that in materialism, one works for sense gratification. So the difference would be you wouldn't be working for yourself this time. You would be working for the Christ conscious. Okay, you would be working for the absolute truth. You would be working for the goddess. Okay? The same work, however, can be performed for the satisfaction of the Christ, and that is spiritual activity. If one has sufficient money, he can help in building an office or temple for propagating Christ consciousness. Or he can help with publications. See? So they're telling you that if you can't do things, if you cannot devote your entire life to your spiritual advancement, which not everyone can, I understand, so the next step is to be of assistance to those who would like to. So now you can help with getting the information out. So like right now, if I'm teaching you guys, those who cannot assist me directly, like in everyday life, but the best thing that you can do is spread my teachings. What you can do is share my lives, tell people the knowledge, even tell, what you hear, tell others, teach others. You know what I'm saying? That's how you can help. You can, send donations if we're trying to build something, you know what I'm saying? So you can help financially, you can help just by spreading the knowledge to others. Okay? So this would be the second part, depending on what you're able to do or what you're willing to be able to do, because that's really what it's about. It's about what you're willing to be able to do, because everyone, in a sense, can let go of their program. They can get rid of their program, right? And they can devote their entire lives to their spiritual advancement. But most people aren't ready to make that kind of commitment because it's scary, right? It's scary. I understand that it's scary. You're worried about whether you can take care of yourself. You worry about this, you worry about that. And you're not up to the point where you know that the universe will just provide for you because energy is your currency, right? But you're not out at that level yet. You're not there yet. So if you're not there yet, that's okay. You know, I'm not condemning anyone who's not there yet. Everyone can do what they're ready to do. When you're ready to take the next step is when you're ready to take the next step. Okay? So it says here, this voluntary service to the cause of Christ consciousness will help one to rise to a higher state of love for God, whereupon one becomes perfect. Okay? So it'll help you. It says, it may be that one is unable even to sympathize with the activities of Christ consciousness because of social, familial, or religious considerations, or because of some other impediments. So like I said, if you can't do that, a lot of times we'll think about our family. Your family will be like, oh no, you can't do that. If you decided you want to move to another country to focus solely on meditation all day, your family may not be able to accept you. They may down you, they may condemn you, they may tell you that's not even the real God, right? There's a lot of things you have to worry about. So you could be worried about your family. You could be worried about your job. If you speak this truth on your social medias, your job could possibly, reprimand you because of the things that you are talking about, depending on your job, of course. If you're worried about that, if you're worried about coworkers, your peers, friends that you may have had all your life, you may not be able to separate from everything that you've ever known. You know what I'm saying? And if you can't do that, what do you do then? You know? So that's when we reach the basic level of commitment, meaning you have the understanding here, you have the feeling here, the knowing here in your heart, right? You have the knowing and you have the understanding, but now it comes to physically doing something about it. It's difficult for you because of your reality. You're not willing to let your reality go yet, right? So it says here, if one attaches himself directly to the activities of Christ consciousness, there may be objections from family members or so many other difficulties. For one who has such a problem, it is advised that he sacrifice the accumulated result of his activities to some good cause. Okay, it says, it is also found that when one who is not even interested in the activities of Christ consciousness gives charity to some hospital or some other social institution, he gives up the hard-earned results of his activities. That is also recommended here because by the practice of giving up the fruits of one's activities, one is sure to purify his mind gradually. And in that purified stage of mind, one becomes able to understand Christ consciousness, okay? But if there are impediments to accepting Christ consciousness, one may try to give up the results of his actions, okay? In that respect, social service, community service, national service, sacrifice for one's country, etc., may be accepted so that someday one may come to the stage of pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So they're talking about sacrifice, okay? So if you are living this life secretly, if this is your secret belief, because I know that this is a secret belief, especially in men in this society, when you're in a patriarchal society, right? And you believe the black woman is God, what's going to happen? Other men are going to look at you like you're crazy. They're going to call you a simp. They're going to demean you, and the peer pressure may be too much for some of you. You know what I'm saying? And maybe too much for some of you. You may second guess who you are. You may second guess what you believe and if it's the truth. And does it make you a man? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you less masculine because, you believe the woman is God? You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot that you go through. It's an inner battle that you go through because your mind is the separate path of everyone else's. So if the majority is thinking about white Jesus, right, or black Jesus, whichever one you want, and you're thinking about a black goddess, a black woman. So when you see the black woman, you see pure divinity. That is like, you're different. You feel alone. You feel like, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot that could hold you back from living out your truth, right? So living out your truth could be really hard. It may be easier for women to live out this truth because they can feel innately their divine power within themselves as they go through and learn knowledge of self and understand and work on their spiritual gifts. They get to see their divinity, so they learn who they are, and it's easier for them to come into realization and start expressing themselves outwardly because it's themselves, right? And they're also in a patriarchal society, so they're going to be demeaned regardless whether they think they're God or not, so it doesn't even matter. But it becomes hard for men. It becomes hard for men because this particular society gives you a false sense of privilege, right? So to give, reverence to a woman now when she's supposed to be the lowest entity, according to the patriarchal society, it's different, It's different, and you may not be able to do anything outwardly or tell anyone. It may be just something you don't tell nobody. I know that there's some of you who you probably don't even tell your wives what you think because you're afraid of what they're going to think of you. Because again, both men and women are conditioned by this society, not just men. So it's not just the men that you have to worry about looking down on you. You have to worry about the entire community looking down on you. Women too, children too, because who teaches the children? We teach our children our conditioning. You know what I'm saying? So children can even have the same conditioning from the society based on the conscious level of their parents. So everyone could be perpetuating the same thing. So, when it comes down to the woman being God, it is a tough path to walk. And that's if you begin walking. So right now we're talking about if you are afraid to take the first step. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it comes down to even choosing someone for your relationship. So now it's like, okay, you have a romantic interest and you want a matriarchal relationship. You don't know how to go about that. You don't know if you should even say anything because every woman is expecting you to lead her and you don't want to do that. What if you don't want to do that? There's nothing wrong with that. Not every man is meant to lead just because he's a guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, your genitals do not make you leadership material. It just doesn't. And I'm not trying to demean anyone. I'm just being real. I'm being honest, right? I'm being honest. So this is the types of things that I'm talking about. And I want to just, get you guys to understand what we're talking about. So, again, this is, I like this book. Well, both of them. I like this book. So, it went through the different levels of commitment based on how you feel, what you know, your knowledge, everything, right? And everyone may not be in the position to do everything that they want to. But I'm doing this class because I want to be able to encourage you to take that next step. Okay? I want to encourage you to take that next step, and that's why I'm doing this. I'm trying to get you to understand that it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It doesn't make you less of a man. It does not make you less masculine. It's all right. Okay? So the next thing I'm going to do is, so we read verses 1 through 11. So we discussed what devotion looks like, right? How to work, sacrifice if you can't work for her, right? So the next segment of our class, so we went through Bhakti Yoga, right? The next segment of our class is we focused on what is love. Okay, so the next segment is how to choose your goddess.